Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, we're going to take a look at the Glenfarclas 40 2014 edition, 46% ABV. Got the sample, Dustin, a couple weeks ago. Went out of town, forgot in my mailbox. Stood out there for a couple of days, but we wanted to try the old Glenfarclas 40, not the 43% that we get now, but the old 46% that used to come in the purple tubes. So, me and Dustin were able to source this from someone we trust. He was opening up a bottle, and we wanted to get in on it. We have brought you everything with Glenfarclas in the core range back in the day, besides the 30, I believe, which is a good whiskey I'm trying to get my hands on.
Yeah, keep waiting to see, they used to, do samples where they put a 30 in there with your 21 or something.
You pick, Dustin. I poured.
I think we're good as is.
And we go with my old man's favorite. If you pour, they pick. Keeps you honest.
Yeah, we do apologize for the few of you who hate sample reviews, but I'm sorry.
I cannot get this anywhere reasonable, the 46% Glenfarclas 40. I have tried forever. This used to be a $400 bottle. Yeah, as a party's horse 10 years ago now, this doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's hard to get, and the prices have gotten crazy, and we've been a little skeptical of Glenfarclas historically. We've enjoyed what they do as a whole, but we've found that they can be inconsistent and underproofed, and sometimes just maybe not our flavor.
Yeah, Glenfarclas is hit or miss for me. I used to love them early in my edition. I remember the first time I had the 17 year, I was blown away by the 17 year. But I looked at this 40 at the case and party source many times, entertained buying it. Let's get to it, Dustin.
We compared our 17s. They're very different whiskeys, so just batch variation.
Batch variation.
Let me tell you right now, this is a sherry bomb on the nose, Mike.
Yeah, and this guy actually gave us a nice wallop here for...
Whew. That is purple bubblegum and oak.
Yeah, well, you say Dimetapp is almost pressed now. This
is purple bubblegum.
Yeah, it smells purple.
This is much juicier, fruitier. Ooh. It's got a double bubble. If there was a grape double bubble, I don't know if there is. This is what it would be. I don't know if that's a thing, but this is like double bubble.
Coming up with gum flavors.
Oh, man.
It's sherried.
There is no alcohol in this thing, man. It is, I get oak and I get double bubble purple.
Maybe a little furniture polish.
Man, I'm not even getting, maybe,
This is so rich.
Maybe a toasted bread.
This is so rich for
This is so, so back to Glenfarclas. I've often said with, a lot of their expressions, they tend to maybe use third or fourth fill cask.
13th fill cask, whatever they might be.
I don't know if this is first fill, but this is not, these are not rejuvenated dead casks.
How could a first fill cask go 40 years with scotch? I guess it's possible.
Well, maybe you have one first fill that just gets overdone, but then you blend it with some, refill, and the blend works. You know what I mean?
Glenfarclas, the king of reused casks, in my opinion, along with Lagavulin. Unless it's a specialty bottling where it says it's first fill. But man, these are good sherry casks.
These are good, and these were active sherry casks for sure. Again, maybe they had a just utterly undrinkable 40-year-old first fill that they blended with some third fill, and it worked.
Oh, pungent sherry.
Yeah, I'm looking for that classic Glenfarclas kind of coal fire note.
To me, it's almost like that with a wisp of butterscotch. You know what I mean? I always had this butterscotch note a lot of times with Glenfarclas.
Yeah, no.
This is super sherried.
If it's there, man, I can't get through the sherry right now.
Yeah, it's strong, boy.
Man.
I wasn't expecting this.
No, I when we saw the color, I was like, oh, that's darker than I thought.
Yeah.
Then I was like, well, it's old. But man.
Whew. Fresh crack bottle, by the way.
Go back and see my first look when Mike was, jabbering away about the whiskey, and I came in for a quick little nosy, and I just kind of went, whoa.
That's substantial.
We got something here.
Yeah, there's not an overabundance of flavors. If you like Glenfarclas, you'll recognize this as Glenfarclas and heavily sherried. And that's a little bit of tobacco.
I would honestly not even be sure I could. I don't know if I'd place this as Glenfarclas because I'm not getting that charcoal note. It's just so sherried.
You can, sometimes with Glenfarclas family casks, you get ones that are super sherried and you can't tell they're Glenfarclas. You know what I mean? It's a space side, it's not peated, it's overly sherried.
I've never had a family cask pushing this age. This is really, the age is gone. This is different. 74.
74, yep, right. This is older than me.
Oh.
What are you picking up?
Woo!
Give it to me.
That kicks.
Got some alcohol punch to it?
Yeah, oak spice and alcohol punch. The Glenfarclas jumps right back in there. This reminds me a lot of Glen going 30.
Okay.
It's got a very similar sherry note. It's that very aggressive, really pleasant, super sweet. So it's not today's more spicy, aggressive recharred cask. This is very grape, sherry, sweet, candied kind of a thing. And then the finish it goes into that like charcoal, Glenfarclas thing, coal fire, whatever it is. And then bam, it hit me with like alcohol and oak spice. I got to go in for another taste before I had water. Wow. I was not expecting that, Mike.
It's just popping sherry. It's popping heavy sherry. It does have a kick for 46%, especially for 40 years. You weren't expecting that, but it's not as much an alcohol kick. It's just a rich, dense, spicy, not spicy, snappy sherry kick.
It punches your mouth like there for a second.
It does.
I think I swallowed too soon. Didn't spend enough time. Man, wow.
You're definitely getting that Glenfarclas like mild butterscotch note kind of on the sides here at the finish. There's a good amount of chocolate in this, kind of on the finish too. I mean, I'm trying to focus on the Glenfarclas notes and things like that, just kind of bring it back to its basics.
It's Glenfarclas. Yeah,
it's for sure Glenfarclas.
I couldn't smell Glenfarclas initially, but you taste it.
Even the texture of it, like Glenfarclas comes off to me a little light usually because it's 43%. Like this doesn't, like we've had other 46% whiskeys tonight that were denser than this.
This is thin. Despite
Finish.
all of those punchy flavors, like the actual spirit itself is very thin. I'd say this is in the bottom 25% of whiskeys I've had at 46 in terms of density. Yeah,
I agree.
Maybe bottom 10. I mean, it is really watery.
It does taste a little thin,
and yet full of flavor and punchy. It's kind of a weird like. It's like there's no oils. It's like it's been filtered to remove the oil and the texture, but you've still got a ton of flavor.
Yeah, you still got the flavors. It's just texture-wise, if that's something you're sensitive to, you will say, this comes off a bit thin.
Yeah,
but you got some Glenfarclas for you in general. Well, the way I can explain it is like you say you take an Ardbeg or a Lagavulin.
Those family casks can be pretty dense.
You're right, they can. Which means they may have done something else in this process. Like instead of just doing it in a cask strength, maybe they did some type of filtration process. I don't know on the 40. But I'll say it reminds me of this. Like Lagavulin and I always go back to Isles. Lagavulin and Ardbeg are denser malts than Lafroig. I'm not saying they're smokier, but like on the palate they're denser. They're meatier. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Even at a similar ABV, and it's kind of what I'm getting here.
Yeah, it's strangely thin. I tell you what, the water, Mike.
Yeah,
Glenfarclas is coming through, and it's gotten much more chocolatey. It's getting a little bit of like a smoke, and I don't mean like peat. I mean like wood smoke from that like charcoal thing. I'm starting to pick up the Glenfarclas malt. God, this smells good.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I am.
If you like sherry spade size, this is one of the best ones.
This is weirdly like epically good, and also disappointing because of that like lack of richness and density on the mouthfeel.
Yeah, I agree. That's Glenfarclas for you. A little bit of love, a little bit of hate. But if someone likes the spirit of a whiskey, because we know guys, we're meeting a guy later who enjoys the spirit.
Oh yeah,
enjoys distilleries where you can pick that out, and he's a big fan of Glenfarclas because of that reason. You'll love this. Mm-hmm. From the very beginning, I could tell it was Glenfarclas. When you drink this, you will remember other Glenfarclas you've absolutely had. Now, this one's way more sherried, and it is oakier. I don't know if I'd initially jump to. Yeah, I would jump to 40 because I've had the 25 enough to know that's kind of a mediocre 25-year-old whiskey.
Yeah.
And there's nothing mediocre about this. This is a great whiskey, but it's Glenfarclas' version of a 40-year-old if you've ever had it.
I have not had enough 40-year-old whiskey to always pick it out, but I definitely would instantly go, this is some old whiskey. I mean, that 49-year-old Buna we had even, like for example, this is oakier and more like stately, I think. On that note, man, water like spread the spiciness out. It comes earlier. It doesn't get as intense. I like what the water did.
Yeah, I've had a couple of family casts that I thought were probably more shared. I probably liked a little bit better. I got a sample of the one from my birth year, 76. I think it was a 38-year, if I'm not mistaken, 30-something. Mm-hmm. And that felt like more shared, more dense.
Cast strength helps a ton.
Yep.
I tell you what, I don't know if you can get more shared than this. I think the density is where this thing lacks. I mean, this is dare I say, if the density matched the rest of it, this could be a 94, 95. Like, maybe the best sherried whiskey I've ever had without peat.
Balvenie 10-1401s would have something to say for that. Batch 8 and 3, but I see your point.
I mean, I think it would be contending right there with them if it had that richness, which it is completely lacking in.
It is. I mean, you would even guess this may be a lower ABV.
I would have absolutely thought this was 40.
Based on mouthfeel.
I mean, that spice maybe would have made me think otherwise, but the mouthfeel, especially on arrival, it's so thin. Those sherry casks, man.
The flavors are good, though.
They're so good.
I mean, we're harping on one aspect of the whiskey, which I assumed to be an issue before I even had it, but here we are.
I was hoping 46 would kind of save it, but...
All right, Dustin, where as far as the whiskey score on this one?
This is a tough one, Mike.
I'll make it easier for you. I enjoy this whiskey. I'm going back and forth between two scores. I'm going to give you my score, and then my enjoyment score is 1 point higher.
Okay.
So I'm going to just give you that caveat. I think as a whiskey, this is about a 90. I think as a whiskey score, I enjoy it because it's super sherried. I'm going to say 91 as far as in my enjoyment. Mm-hmm. But I was expecting 40-year-old, 46% Glenfarclas. I was expecting, 92, 93. And when it came out the gate, when I first smelled it, I was like, woo, this might be one of the better whiskeys. This might make our playlist for legendary bottles.
Yes.
It does not.
No.
It does not.
No,
I'm at a 90. My enjoyment is a 90.
Yeah, so I'm going to give the exact same score. I will, however, say my enjoyment, because of that sherry note, is probably a 92, Mike. And I'm a mouthfeel guy, but God, this is just epic sherry. But it's an 80 on mouthfeel and texture. And the finish, to be completely honest, while I like it, it's a little simple.
Agreed. I mean, it's Glenfarclas straightforward. This is what it is. You know what I mean?
But I mean, the 25, like the 17s, for example, they actually have a longer, more complex finish because you get more of that coal fire richness of the malt. This just kind of is oak, and it fades fairly quickly for a 40-year-old. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not terrible on the finish, but when you combine that with the just watery, thin mouthfeel, it's tough because, man, everything else is epic on this.
I agree. I was watching a movie maybe a year or so ago. It was a Guy Ritchie movie. It had Matthew McConaughey and the guy, Charlie Hunnam, who played on Sons of Anarchy. And in that movie, he had a Glenfarclas 1976 40-year-old that he was sharing with the guy who married Elizabeth Hurley, which is his claim to fame, in my opinion. But he was doing the 76 vintage, and they were sitting there drinking that, and I was just like, man, I bet that would be a good whiskey. I love when they put good scotches in movies. Have I had it? Do I need to have it?
Absolutely.
They're drinking it with ice, though. It killed me.
Oh, God, this would be ruined by ice. But, yeah, it's
good whiskey. It's good whiskey,
excellent.
Fun to try.
Yeah, guys, I got to say this.
I'm not buying this for $1,500.
Now, let me put a question to you, though, Mike. If you're only going to get one chance at this and you're at a bar, how high up on your list should people put this as far as an experience you need to have? Because I'm thinking pretty high.
If you're a Glenfarclas fan, yeah.
If you're a sherried whiskey fan.
That's a good sherried whiskey.
If you're a fan of sherried whiskey, this is...
I can name you 30 sherried whiskeys that are better.
But, can you really?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on what you want. You want punchier, yeah.
But I mean, this is an old school sherry profile. We don't see it that often anymore.
Agreed.
I, honest to God, think if you're at a bar and you see this, I would buy this over better whiskeys just because it's an experience you're not getting with today's casks and today's whiskeys.
But we buy whiskey all the time. I still went out of my way to buy it. I forgot what we got this for, but we went on my way to buy it. It was 80 a piece or something.
No, I think it was 80, 90 total.
Was it?
Yeah, I think it was under 50 an ounce. So we got a pretty good deal, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, those are our thoughts on the Glenfarclas 40, 2014 edition, 46% ABV. That's the purple tube. If you're looking at the packaging, not the red warehouse cabinet box, I'm going to say. Whatever it is. Anyway, those are our thoughts. If you guys want to try this Glenfarclas 40 from 2014 or any 46%, let us know what you guys think. And Dustin, until next time, what do you wish the folks?
Happy drinking stuff as or older than yourself.
Next time.